My name is Arthur Jenkins, and I'm living on borrowed time. The problem is, I think I wasted most of it. I'm not talking about money or a career. I'm talking about a life. A whole life given to me by my sister Eleanor. I was one of the lucky ones back in '88 during the hospital crisis. You'd see it on the news, but you couldn't smell it through the television. That smell of bleach and desperation. I remember sitting in a hallway for hours, no beds, just watching the gurneys roll by, feeling like a piece of furniture someone forgot to move. I survived that. I got a second chance when so many didn't. But surviving isn't the same as living. And lately, watching the world, watching people, I'm starting to think we're all forgetting the difference. We're all sitting in that hallway again, just shouting at each other this time. Eleanor didn't give me a kidney so I could spend the next 30 years proving how strong I was, how I didn't need anyone. But that's what I did. I mistook pride for strength. I thought because I'd been so weak, so helpless in that hospital bed, I had to build a fortress around myself afterward. And a fortress is a lonely place to live. It keeps everyone out. Now, I turn on the TV, I walk down the street, and I see people building their own little fortresses. Everyone's so certain they're right. They're shouting, pointing fingers, convinced that the other side is the enemy. It looks so familiar. It's the same fear I had, just dressed up in different clothes. The fear of being wrong, of being weak. But what they don't understand, what it took me a lifetime to learn, is that the fortress doesn't protect you. It just ensures you'll be alone when you finally fall. It was 1988. I was a steel worker in Cleveland. My hands were calloused, my back was strong, and I believed in a simple equation. You work hard, you provide, you stand on your own 2 feet. That was the whole world to me. Then my body started to betray me. It started slow. A tiredness that felt deeper than bone. A metallic taste in my mouth that no amount of water could wash away. The doctors used words like failure and end stage. To me, it just felt like drowning on dry land. One day I was pouring steel, feeling the heat on my face, and the next I was sitting in a sterile white room, the cold seeping into my clothes, listening to a man tell me my life now depended on a machine and the kindness of a stranger. My own strength, the only thing I ever truly owned, had become useless. That's a hard thing for a man like me to accept. It felt like the ultimate humiliation. The hospital, it wasn't a place of healing. It was a place of waiting. There were no rooms, just hallways filled with gurneys and people on hard plastic chairs like me. We'd sit there for hours, sometimes all day, waiting for a dialysis machine, waiting for a doctor, waiting for any kind of news. You never forget the smell. It was bleach, so much bleach it burned your nose. But underneath it was the sour smell of sickness and fear. I'd watch the nurses, their faces pale and drawn, their shoes squeaking on the linoleum as they rushed from one crisis to the next. They weren't mean, they were just overwhelmed, broken by the sheer volume of suffering. You stop being a person in a place like that. You become a chart. A number on a list. You become part of the background noise, invisible, another problem in a building full of them. The worst part wasn't the pain. It was the loss of dignity. 3 times a week I'd be hooked to that machine, watching my own blood leave my body, get cleaned, and come back. It kept me alive, but it felt like it was stealing my soul, drip by drip. You'd sit in a room with a dozen other people, all of you tethered to these humming boxes, and you wouldn't talk. What was there to say? You'd see a face one week, and the next their chair would be empty. No one said a word. We just knew. The system wasn't malicious. It was just a slow, grinding machine of indifference. It didn't care who you were or what life you'd lived. It just processed you. And the terror of that, the feeling that your entire existence could be erased by a misplaced file or a lack of resources, that's a fear that digs into you and never, ever lets go. I remember the room they put me in just before the surgery. It wasn't a room, really, more like a closet with a gurney. Everything was cold. The metal rails, the linoleum floor, the paper-thin gown they give you that does nothing to stop the chill. It just reminds you how exposed you are. And then Eleanor walked in. She looked so small in that big, sterile space, smaller than I'd ever seen her. Life hadn't been easy on her. You could see it in her hands, in the lines around her eyes. But her eyes, they weren't scared. They were clear, calm. I was the steel worker, the strong one, lying there feeling like a scared little boy. She was the one who looked like she could hold up the whole world. I couldn't even look her in the eye. The shame was a physical weight on my chest, heavier than any of the machines I was hooked up to. She came over and took my hand. I remember thinking her hand would be cold, but it was warm. And her grip, it was so firm, like she was pouring all the strength she had left right into me. She didn't say much. No big speeches. No I love you. None of that. Eleanor was never one for a lot of words. She just looked at me, right into my soul, it felt like, and she said, "Use this well, Artie." Just 4 words. Not a request, a command, a quiet, heavy order. And in that moment, I felt the weight of her life being placed in my hands. It wasn't just a kidney. It was her future, her health, her sacrifice. It was a gift so enormous I felt like it was going to crush me right there on that gurney. A gift I knew deep down I didn't deserve. How could anyone deserve that? And then she squeezed my hand one last time, and a nurse let her out. The door clicked shut, and the silence it left behind was deafening. I should have felt gratitude. I should have felt a wave of love for my sister. But if I'm being honest, what I felt first was rage. A hot, bitter anger at myself for being so weak, for needing her, for putting her in that position. I resented the gift because it was a permanent monument to my own failure. Her love felt like a debt I could never, ever repay. And instead of trying to live up to it, I spent the next 30 years running from it. I built my walls high and thick, determined to never need anyone or anything again. That quiet command, "Use this well," became an echo in an empty fortress. It was the sound of my own failure every single day. For 30 years, I've kept a ghost in a small wooden box on my dresser. It's a letter, an unopened letter from Eleanor, written the day before she gave me a piece of her life. I've held it in my hands 1,000 times. The paper has gone soft and yellow at the edges. I know every crease. But I never had the courage to read it. Why? Because I was a coward. I was terrified of what it might say. That she loved me? That she believed in me? I couldn't bear it. Her love felt like an indictment of my own weakness. Reading her words would have meant accepting the gift, and accepting it meant owing a debt my pride could never repay. So I left it sealed. I chose ignorance over gratitude. It was easier to live with the silence of the unopened letter than with the weight of her kindness. That silence became the blueprint for the rest of my life. A series of closed doors and words left unsaid. That hospital didn't just take my kidneys. It took the man I thought I was. I walked out of there physically healed but spiritually broken. I spent the next 3 decades trying to kill the memory of that man on the gurney, the helpless man who couldn't even stand on his own. Every dollar I wasted, every argument I started, every friend I pushed away, it was all just a desperate attempt to prove I wasn't him anymore. I wasn't weak. I wasn't dependent. But I was. I was a slave to that memory. I wasn't building a new life. I was just running from an old ghost. And the fortress I built around myself to keep that feeling of helplessness out, it worked. It kept everything out. Joy, love, connection. It kept Eleanor out. In my stupid, stubborn quest to be strong, I made myself the loneliest man I know. The irony is a bitter pill to swallow. Her last words to me before they wheeled her away were, "Use this well, Artie." Just 4 words, but they've echoed in my head every single day since. For a long time I heard them as a judgment. Every time I lost my temper, every time I chose pride over forgiveness, I'd hear her voice, and the shame would burn in my gut. I wasn't using it well. I was squandering it. I was failing her. There were nights, more than I can count, when I'd lie awake and think that she gave her gift to the wrong person, that someone else, someone better, deserved to live. That's the deepest, ugliest truth of it all. I carried her sacrifice not like a treasure, but like a stolen jewel I was terrified of dropping. The guilt of surviving, of being chosen when I felt so unworthy. It's a weight that never really goes away. It just settles deeper into your bones. And now I sit here in this quiet house, the one Eleanor left me, and I turn on the television, and the noise that comes out of it. It's a different kind of chaos than that hospital, but it feels the same. The same sirens, just made of words. Everyone is shouting. Everyone is so sure they're right. They stand behind their walls of certainty, throwing rocks of words at anyone on the other side. They wear their pride like a suit of armor, just like I did. They think it makes them strong. But I see their faces, twisted with anger, and I don't see strength. I see fear. It's the same cold fear I felt on that gurney. The fear of being wrong, the fear of being weak, the fear of needing someone else. It's the same sickness, just a different symptom. And it's spreading faster than any virus I've ever seen. The funny thing is, back then, in that hallway of ghosts, we had so little, but we shared it. I remember an old woman, Mrs. Gable. Her skin was like paper. She had a wool blanket, probably the only thing of comfort she owned. One night the chill was just eating me alive, and without a word she unfolded it and draped half of it over my legs. We didn't talk. We just sat there under the same worn blanket, watching the gurneys roll by. There was a quiet understanding in that place, a desperate solidarity. We were all sinking, but we held hands anyway. The nurses, God bless them, they were running on fumes, but they'd find a way to smile, to touch your arm. It wasn't in their job description. It was just human. My sister didn't hold a press conference to announce her sacrifice. She just did it, quietly, because that's what people did. You helped because you knew tomorrow you might be the one who needed help. Today it's all so loud. It's all a performance. It's not about helping. It's about winning. It's about proving the other side is not just wrong, but evil. Compassion has become conditional. It's reserved only for the people who think like you, who look like you, who vote like you. Everyone's building their own little fortress, just like I did. They're so busy shouting about what's right that they've forgotten how to be good. We've lost the quiet dignity of sacrifice. We've forgotten that our real strength, our only true strength, isn't in the walls we build to keep others out. It's in the bridges we build to let them in. We've traded that shared wool blanket for the cold comfort of being right. And I'm telling you, from the end of my life, it is a terrible, terrible trade. It will leave you shivering and all alone in the dark. A few nights ago, I couldn't sleep. The noise from the news was bouncing off these empty walls, sounding just like the chaos of that hospital. I looked over at my dresser, at that little wooden box. 30 years it sat there, 30 years of silence, and I finally understood. My pride, the thing I thought made me a man, it wasn't strength. It was a cage I built around a terrified little boy on a gurney. Eleanor's quiet sacrifice, that was strength. So I walked over, my hands shaking, and I opened the box. I took out the letter. The seal broke with a sound no louder than a whisper, but it felt like a dam breaking inside me. The letter wasn't long. It wasn't poetic. She wrote that she was scared, but that she believed in me. That she knew I was a good man, even when I forgot it myself. And reading those simple words, her words, I finally let myself cry. Not for her, but for all the years I wasted running from the one person who always saw me. In the letter, she mentioned her son David, my nephew. We hadn't spoken in a decade, not since a stupid, stubborn argument about nothing. Pride again. She wrote, "Look after my boy, Artie. He needs family." It was the last thing she asked of me, and I had failed. So, the next morning, I found his number. My heart was pounding when I called, expecting him to hang up, or worse, to yell. And he had every right. But when he answered, I didn't make excuses. I just said, "David, it's your uncle. I was wrong. I'm so sorry I let all this time pass." There was this long, heavy silence on the line. I thought he'd hung up. Then his voice, a little rough, just said, "I've missed you, Uncle Artie." That's all it took. That one moment of letting go of being right. It didn't make me weaker. It mended something I thought was broken forever. It healed me in a way no hospital ever could. So I'm asking you, I'm begging you, really, don't wait 30 years. Don't let your pride build a fortress so high you can't see over the walls. Right now, as I'm speaking, there's a name in your head, a face, someone you haven't spoken to because of some stupid, stubborn argument that probably doesn't even matter anymore. A brother, a parent, an old friend. Your unopened letter is that unmade phone call. Your wooden box is the silence you've let grow between you. So please, do what I was too cowardly to do for 3 decades. Pick up that phone. Send that message. Don't call to relitigate the past. Don't call to prove you were right. Just call to say, I was thinking about you. And then, for the love of God, just listen. The connection is worth so much more than the correction. Don't let the best years of your life be the quietest ones. It's a silence that will eat you alive. Eleanor gave me a kidney so I could live. It took me all this time to understand she wasn't just talking about breathing in and out. She meant live with people, not just alongside them. Her gift wasn't meant to make me strong enough to stand alone. It was meant to teach me how to stand with others. That's the truth I almost missed. Real strength isn't found in the noise of an argument or the cold satisfaction of being right. It's found in the quiet, terrifying courage it takes to say, I was wrong. It's in the humility to ask for forgiveness. It's in mending what you've broken, piece by painful piece. I'm living on borrowed time, I know that. But for the first time in a long, long time, I feel like I'm finally starting to use it well. Please, don't waste yours. Don't let your pride be the last thing you hold on to. It's not worth the cost. I promise you it's not.